So initiation. So now we're talking about how do you initiate that conversations. So you have two types of initiation. One is passive, right? The person is coming, he or she is asking you a question. The other is the person is not asking, but you are initiating the conversation. So these are two typical scenarios. So passive would be, hey, you know what? I see you're not coming to lunch, right? And then you could hide and say, yeah, I'm just not, I have something else to do, I'll not come to lunch. Or it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, that's why I'm not coming, right? Or he or she may ask you, like, why do you have to cover? Why can't you shake hands? Blah, 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 right? Somebody asks you a question. Active is, nobody's asking you a question, you are initiating a conversation about religion, about the purpose of life, and so on and so forth. Is the distinction clear? So the way you do it is like, obviously, there's a state of being, we talked about it, like how you are portraying yourself, how you're carrying yourself, how you're honest, truthful, and so on and so forth, which you should be anyways. And then the second thing is you awaken that the fitrah within, the truth within, by sharing the message of Islam. And then you're agreeing to have a conversation, right? Making sure the other person also has time to do it. If they don't have time right now, you'll do it at a later time. So, for example, they're saying, like, someone asks you about hijab or fasting or salah. Say, you know what, that's a really good question. I appreciate you taking interest to getting to know me and knowing my values. I'd love to sit down with you and share with you the concept of Islam. Do you have time? Can we do it after work today or lunch break tomorrow? Or let's go for a coffee or let's have a call, depending on the situation. So you acknowledge them, you thank them, but then you're also setting the stage up for a proper conversation at a time when they have time. Clear? Okay, so active initiation, the first thing, be visibly Muslim. So I already gave the example of lunchtime versus prayers, being vocal about it. It's time for Eid or Umrah, or so send out some video that describe what Ramadan is about, what Eid is about. Maybe bring some treats to your neighbors, to your work, wherever you are, right? The other thing that I do is usually now, people ask, hey, you know what? What did you do over the weekend? People ask that, right? Or what are your hobbies? You're getting to know someone. As you tell people about yourself, include religion within it, right? So, for example, last week at my work, they said, how was the weekend? I said, yeah, it was great. We had a Christian group of students that came to our mosque after a long time because COVID, they couldn't come, so I'm really happy about that. Whatever. So you can tell people what you are, right? And you can showcase that there is some element of a spirituality or religion within your life. So people, and that you're open about talking about it, right? So you're not hiding it, you're open about it. That will give encouragement to people to ask you about it. Okay, so that's one way of being visibly Muslim, being open to discussions, being approachable, and so on and so forth. Okay, so active initiation would be, say, you know what, I'll show you some exact examples, but you are essentially asking them, hey, I would like to talk to you about Islam. Or I'd like to talk to you and learn about your perspective about God, your perspective about religion, and also share mine. Hey, would you like to join me at mosque sometime? So it's like, oh, so how was your Friday prayer? It was great. Thank you for asking. Would you like to join me someday? Okay, so you're activating that offer. You're making an offer, or you're asking for a discussion. Make sure that you set the tone that it's just going to be open-minded conversation. If you have anything on your mind, feel free to ask. I'm not offended. I just love discussing and learning about other people's approach to faith. Okay, and this will not affect our work relationship or whatever relationship you have. Right, just a conversation on the side. Just let's get to know each other and see what happens. Questions? Yes. Yes, so I will share the link again. So a few things. I've emailed you the link to the slides if you have signed up. And I'll also share it at the end again so you can take a picture, inshallah. Or somebody else may be able to give it to you during break, inshallah. Okay? So let me give some examples. So like, my kickboxing coach, he's not Muslim. He came for Fajr prayer. One day, he just observed it. All it took was just asking him. right? Hey, you know what? Let's go for it. He's like, yeah, I'm busy. Okay, when would be a good time to do it? Okay, I'll check with you next week. So he came, he prayed Fajr with us, and then I said, let's get together. Let me actually explain Islam to you. He has been to masjid before, but he was attending someone's wedding. He doesn't know much about Islam. So just asking about it, okay? Other options could be people in your building, your neighbors, concierge staff in your building, your other friends from work, gym, etc., colleagues. The only potential thing about colleague, just like heads up, depending on your role, you have to be careful, right? Especially if you're in a senior role and you start a conversation and then you have to give a bad review to person, then the person may say, oh yeah, I just got a bad review because I didn't accept his Islam. So just be careful about that. There's a simple trick. If it's peer, and if you're not in that level that somebody can challenge you, then that's fine. But if you can be challenged, then obviously protect yourself. Make sure that it cannot go that route. One easy way to do that is people leave work, right? When people leave work, I think that's a perfect time to initiate this conversation because now you cannot be affected at work. I'll show you an example. So here's an example, real-time chat. So because I'm remote, this person is in the US, so it's not that I see him in person. He recently left work, as you can see, September 20th. Say, hey, you know what, hope you have a great weekend. As you know, one of my hobbies is to share and have interfaith discussion. I'd love to have a chat with you and see what your perspective about religion is and about Creator and so on and so forth. We can start with a call, or I can suggest some reading, and then we can have a call, right? And I would also say, look, the way I started, feel free to say no or not yet. Okay, so I'm giving them, no pressure. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Or if you're busy right now, I can do it later. So I gave him these options. So instead of just him saying plain no, he has other options. So he did choose, for example, maybe in a couple of months, and I grew up Protestant and blah, blah, blah. So that's September 20th. So I messaged him on October 6th. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Is it a good time to have that call? And then we had our first call on October 17th, right? As he suggested, let's have a call on 17th. And then we had a call on 17th. Then I had to get to know what his belief was, what does he not like about Protestant, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then this is follow-up after the call. Then I sent him some links based on our conversation. I saw what his interests were, and then I'm going to message him next month, inshallah. So that went well, but not every conversation is going to go well, okay? So this is another conversation. He is still working at the same company. So I said the same thing, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. And he was like, I could see that he's very defensive, that, I wouldn't convert, and, I'm hesitant about it. So I've left it at this. I sent him this podcast. I haven't started it, especially because we also work in a similar role, and it can potentially be problematic. So the point being that that's something you have to decide if you can do it with your peers or not. I have ongoing conversation with some of my peers who are still working in the same company, same team. For some, I will let them leave the company, or when I leave the company, then you can go back and initiate conversations so there's no work conflict. But again, it doesn't have to be work. You have many other people, right? I said gym, friends, building, neighbors. Okay, now this is really important, and this is what we're going to practice now. So see, this was sort of a rejection, right? It's like, no, I don't want to do it, this conversation. So it's important for you to feel being said no to, right? That's fine. So imagine if anytime you get said no, you get $1,000. I say, you know what? Go ahead and sell this water bottle for me. Any door you knock onto, even if it doesn't buy, you get a $1,000 commission. Would you do it? Yeah. There you go. Okay, so remember, Allah is something, Allah can give you better than $1,000, right? And you're getting one no, usually in a very polite manner. Okay, the Sahaba and the messengers, they were rejected with physical violence. I mean, we already have our brothers and sisters in different parts of the world where they're actually being persecuted for being Muslim. So for us, hearing a no thank you, not a big deal, okay? But it's important to practice that, especially if you haven't heard that. So I'd like you to practice it, initiate a conversation with your neighbor here, okay? Move around if you want to. Or maybe stand up as well. So have a conversation while standing up. So you will initiate an active conversation, however you like. There's no right or wrong way. And then the other person, reject them as brutally as you can. What you're talking about, I don't have time for this, I want to make money, or whatever, you can just brutally reject them so we can have that fear gone away. That's, yeah, it's okay to be rejected. Because many times we just see social media, we think that everybody's just going to engage with you. That doesn't happen. People will say no to you. Okay? So stand up if you can and just have a conversation, swap roles. One person initiates, the other person brutally rejects. Don't slap anybody, but just verbally reject it. And then just change the role. Okay, I'm going to see you. Guys, wake up, stand up. Okay, welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. Everybody got rejected? You know how it feels like to be rejected? Let's just get over it and just imagine you're being given $1,000, right, in your hasanat. And maybe in the world too, Allah can, just bless your wealth because of that too. It's also possible. So here are some things that we're going to do about the follow-ups, right? So as I said, I had my first call with my colleague. I'll have more follow-ups with him. But there are certain things that need to keep an eye on. So one is you might see the person saying, I don't have time, right? He doesn't even get on the first call, or she doesn't even get on the first meeting. So gently motivate them, help them see that this is the most consequential decision of their life, okay? You can make a wrong choice of the phone you're purchasing or the car you're purchasing. Big deal, right? Like, it's not going to really, really impact your life. You can change it. Wrong job, wrong career, wrong university, even wrong spouse. It's not as consequential as getting the religion wrong. If they're busy, ask them, hey, do you mind if I follow up in a month? Or something like that. So keep that dialogue open. The other common reservation that you will come across is you will see that the person is having this feeling that, look, I have to quit alcohol and stop smoking and pray 5 times a day. So they might have this subconscious thing that I cannot do everything, so I'm not going to do anything. So you can then help them understand that just like any other area of your life, reading, investment, fitness, you start small, and doing something is better than doing nothing, and then you grow from there. There's also this subconscious thinking that if they don't accept Islam, then the rules don't apply to them. So that's something you might want to clarify, that the rules are for every human being, not just if you become Muslim. So you have to believe in Allah, believe in the Quran, believe in the Messenger, then you have to pray 5 times a day, and this is for every human being, not only for people who choose to be Muslim or are born in a certain family. Some people also think Islam is a culture, right? So you have your own food, I have my own food. You go for, kickboxing, I go for cardio, whatever, right? Different ways of life. That's not what Islam is. We're not calling it to a culture, it's a religion. And sometimes, I don't know, I'm not sure. So then you may have to, help them understand that, look, you're making a decision based on the data that's available to you today. Obviously, you can change things around, right? But not making a decision is also making a decision by itself. So you may not be consciously rejecting Islam, but by not accepting, you're also rejecting. These are at later stages, but just something to be aware of. The other things that I suggest to people as action item, because many people do believe that there is a creator. I've hardly encountered people who don't believe in some sort of a higher power. So then I say, okay, look, at the very least, have a routine of having a daily conversation with him in your language. Talk to him, say, I'm open, show me the path, give me the courage to follow the right path, and so on and so forth. You can share with them these prayers. So the English one is the translation of Sunnah prayers, but very rhyming ones. The Arabic is the actual Sunnah prayers with subtitles as an example. Sometimes you may have to help them realize what questions that they are thinking, right? Where are we in agreement with the existence of God, right? Is it very, very likely that the God exists? Are we in agreement that the God would have sent down some sort of criterion, some sort of a guidance, or would have just left us to figure it out on our own? And if you have agreement on those, then the question would be that is Quran that revelation, or is there something else? So you're kind of helping them have top questions, because otherwise sometimes people just go into the nitty-gritty and small things and lose the big picture. So, yes, actually, yeah, you can stop that.